Imagine carrying a heavy backpack everywhere you go, except that backpack is not on your back, it is hidden inside your own body, wrapped around your organs, around your liver, around your intestines, even around your heart. I mean visceral fat, or what you might know as belly fat. And this is not like the fat sitting just underneath your skin. This fat is far more metabolically active. It constantly releases inflammatory chemicals into your bloodstream, keeping your body trapped in a state of chronic low-grade inflammation. And that silent inflammation is one of the main driving forces behind some of the world's most common chronic diseases. Insulin resistance, high blood pressure, type 2 diabetes, heart disease, stroke, fatty liver disease, and even certain types of cancers. And many people who don't even look overweight on the outside may still have dangerous amount of visceral fat and never realize it. Meanwhile, millions others desperately trying to get rid of it, but here's the problem. The internet is full of lies. Lose belly fat in 7 days, drink this magic detox tea, one weird trick melts belly fat overnight. And if something sounds too good to be true, it usually is. Most of the internet hacks are completely nonsense, because the real truth is far less glamorous and much more boring. Losing belly fat usually requires consistent lifestyle changes repeated over months, not days. But there is the good news. Science actually gives us a pretty clear roadmap, and some of the most effective strategies are surprisingly simple. Let's start with one of the biggest misconceptions. Many people think belly fat is only about appearance, but it is not. Two people can be exactly the same amount, yet one may carry mostly less dangerous subcutaneous fat, while the other carries far more dangerous visceral fat deep inside their abdomen. That's one of the reasons why people who look completely normal weight can still develop type 2 diabetes, heart disease, fatty liver disease, and many other chronic diseases. This condition is especially common among certain populations, including many Asian people, who may develop visceral fat and metabolic diseases at a lower body weight. And one of the most powerful tools against belly fat is fibers, especially soluble fibers. Soluble fibers absorb water and form a gel-like substance inside the gut. This slow digestion helps stabilize blood sugar and keep people feeling full for longer. And when you stay full for longer, you naturally tend to eat fewer calories, which can help reduce belly fat over time. In fact, one observational study involving more than 1,100 people found that for every 10-gram increase in soluble fiber intake, visceral fat gain decreased by nearly 4% over 5 years. Foods rich in soluble fibers include oats, beans, lentils, fruits, vegetables, and barley. Now, on the opposite side of the spectrum, one of the worst things for belly fat is liquid sugars. Sugary drinks are one of the biggest metabolic disasters of modern world. Soda, sweet tea, energy drinks, sugary coffee drinks, and even excessive fruit juice can all become a major problem. The issue is that liquid calories are incredibly easy to overconsume. Your body absorbs them very quickly, but they do not make you feel as full as solid food. Your brain also doesn't register liquid calories as the same way it registers solid food. So people can drink massive amounts of sugar without ever truly feeling satisfied. And a large portion of that sugar, especially fructose, may contribute to fat buildup around the liver and deep inside the abdomen. We put a lot of time and effort into scripting, recording, and editing these videos. But our channel is still pretty small. If these types of content help you even a little, give that like button a gentle hit and subscribe. Thank you. Fish. Fatty fish like salmon, sardines, and mackerel contain omega-3 fatty acids, which may help reduce inflammation and improve overall metabolic health. Some studies also suggest that omega-3 may help reduce belly fat. Research involving both adults and children have shown that omega-3 supplementation can significantly reduce liver fat and abdominal fat accumulation. And for people who do not eat fish, including many vegans, algae-based omega-3 supplements are also available. But alcohol, on the other hand, is another major contributor to abdominal fat. In fact, that's partly why the term beer belly exists. Excessive alcohol can change the way your body handles metabolism, increase calorie intake, disrupt hormones, and promote fat storage around the waist. Research published in 2023 linked excessive alcohol consumption to a significant increase in waist size, likely due to increased abdominal fat storage. An older study from 2023 involving more than 2,000 people also found that individuals who consume large amounts of alcohol tended to have bigger waist circumference compared to those who drank less. And although many recent studies suggest that safest amount of alcohol may actually be 0, but dietary guidelines for Americans still recommend limiting intake to no more than 2 drinks per day for men and 1 drink per day for women. Sleep also plays a much bigger role in belly fat than most people realize. Poor sleep can disrupt hunger hormones and change the way your brain regulates appetite. People who sleep poorly often feel hungrier and have a harder time controlling how much they eat. A large 16-year study published in 2006 involving more than 68,000 women found that those who slept fewer than 6 hours per night were significantly more likely to gain weight compared to those who slept 7 hours or more. Excessive weight gain can contribute to sleep apnea, a condition where breathing repeatedly stops during sleep, and sleep apnea severely disrupts sleep quality, and poor sleep may further promote visceral fat accumulation. This can create a vicious cycle. Poor sleep contributes to weight gain. Weight gain worsens sleep and is a major driver of sleep apnea. Sleep apnea further damages sleep and promotes even more weight gain, and this cycle repeats again and again and again. Protein is another important tool against belly fat. A high-protein diet helps increase the release of a hormone called peptide YY, which increases feeling of fullness and helps reduce overall calorie intake. Protein is also extremely important for preserving muscle mass during weight loss. And interestingly, digesting protein itself can burn slightly more calories compared to fat or carbohydrates. And studies also show that people who eat a high-protein diet often tend to have lower abdominal fat. Good sources of protein include egg, fish, yogurt, meat, bean, lentil, and dairy products. Stress. One of the most underestimated causes of belly fat is stress, because stress is not just emotional, it is hormonal. When stress becomes chronic, the body releases high levels of cortisol, and elevated cortisol is strongly linked to abdominal fat accumulation. In fact, there is a medical condition called Cushing syndrome, where the body is exposed to excessive cortisol. People with this condition often develop a very unusual fat distribution pattern. The arms and legs may become thin, while fat accumulates around the abdomen, the face, and the upper back between shoulders. This is one of the reasons why many people notice that during stressful periods, they tend to gain weight, specifically around the belly. Because during these periods, the body is literally changing the way it stores energy. That's why sleep, stress management, mental health, and proper recovery matters far more than most people realize. Another major problem is ultra-processed carbohydrates. Things like ultra-processed snacks, white bread, sugary breakfast cereals, and pastries digest very quickly. They can cause rapid spikes in blood sugar, followed by sharp crashes, and this food often fails to keep people full for very long. Meanwhile, whole grains, legumes, vegetables, and minimally processed carbohydrates tend to be much better for metabolic health and appetite control. And no, most people do not need extreme diet. In fact, one of the biggest reasons people fail in long term is because they choose eating plans that are almost impossible to sustain. The best diet is usually not the most extreme one. It is the one that people can follow consistently for years and make it part of their lives. Intermittent fasting. In recent years, it became extremely popular method of weight loss. Intermittent fasting is not really a specific diet, but rather an eating pattern that cycles between periods of eating and periods of fasting. One popular method involves fasting continuously for 24 hours once or twice a week. Another common approach is 16-8 method, where a person fasts for 16 hours and eat all of their meals within the remaining 8-hour window. And for many people, those approaches can be very effective. One study found that combining intermittent fasting with protein pacing, meaning protein-rich meals spaced more evenly throughout the day, lead to greater reductions in body weight, total fat, and visceral fat compared to simple calorie restriction alone. However, some older studies suggest that intermittent fasting might negatively affect blood sugar control in certain women, even though the same effect was not clear in men. Scientists are still studying this, but one possible explanation involves hormonal difference and the body's stress response. During prolonged fasting, the body releases stress hormones, like cortisol and adrenaline, to help maintain blood sugar level high enough for vital organs to function. Some researchers believe that women may be more sensitive to these hormonal changes and hormonal fluctuation, because the female body is more tightly connected to reproductive hormone regulation and energy availability. From an evolutionary perspective, the body may interpret prolonged calorie restriction as a potential threat to fertility or survival. As a result, in women, aggressive fasting may slightly worsen insulin sensitivity, increase stress hormone levels, and disrupt appetite regulation, especially when fasting becomes extreme, chronic, or combined with nutritional deficiencies. That does not mean intermittent fasting is harmful for all women, Many women tolerate them very well and may benefit from it. It simply means that nutrition is not one size fits all, and individual responses can vary. Exercise is another major piece of the puzzle. Many people try to lose belly fat through diet alone. But physical activity matters enormously, especially aerobic exercise and resistance training. Cardio exercises like walking, running, cycling, or swimming help burn calories and improve cardiovascular health. But resistance training such as lifting weight is just as important because it helps preserve muscle mass while the body is losing fat. And muscles are metabolically active tissues. The more muscle you preserve, the better your metabolism tends to function during weight loss. This is important because when people lose weight without enough activity or protein intake, part of that weight loss can come from muscles, not just fat. Interestingly, many studies show that combining strength training with aerobic exercise often produces a greater reduction in visceral fat. In other words, the combination of cardio and resistance training may be more powerful than relying on one type of exercise alone. Then there's green tea. Green tea is an exceptionally healthy beverage. It contains caffeine and powerful antioxidants called catechins, especially epigallocatechin gallate, or ECGC. Several studies suggest that it may boost metabolism and help with fat loss, including abdominal fat, especially when combined with exercise. One review found that green tea supplementation could modestly increase weight loss over around 12 weeks, particularly when consumed consistently in moderate doses. However, it is important to understand that the effects are relatively small, not dramatic. And honestly, this is the most important thing to understand. There is no one single belly fat hack. Real fat loss happens when multiple healthy habits start working together. Better sleep, better nutrition, more physical activity, less liquid sugar, stress reduction, and adequate protein intake followed consistently over long term. And perhaps the most important word here is consistently. Because belly fat is usually not gained in 1 week, and it is not lost in 1 week either. But the human body is remarkably adaptable. When healthy habits are repeated long enough, the metabolism begins to change, waistline shrinks, energy improves, blood pressure drops, insulin resistance improves, and the risk of chronic diseases starts to fall. Not because of a miracle supplement or a shortcut, but because biology slowly responds to repeated daily decisions. And if you want to understand why losing visceral fat is not optional but absolutely essential, we have covered it in more detail in another video here, explaining why visceral fat is far more dangerous than just stored energy. It will be worth watching. If you are interested, check this video out.